Main Event Garcia was back tonight on Dynamite. It's been a while since we've seen Main Event Garcia, but it was Daniel Garcia closing the show tonight against Adam Cole. This was Adam Cole's return to the ring for the first time in over 8 months, sidelined with the worst concussion of his career, and he got the main event spot tonight with a win, predictably a win, over Daniel Garcia. And we got a little sneak peek at the direction that Cole is likely going in for Double or Nothing when Chris Jericho came out after the match to help Garcia to the back. And without looking at Adam Cole directly, he gave a little glance over his shoulder a couple of times at Adam Cole, just to give you that little tease that that is the direction that they are headed in. Even though those two got the main event spot tonight, and I understand why. I get why they wanted to close the show with Adam Cole and Britt Baker, because it was the perfect lead-in into the new All Access show, which is on right now as we speak. Tonight was the debut of the new AEW reality series, of which Cole and Britt Baker are two of the feature stars in all the commercials. So I get that. I understand that. But the real main event took place at the top of hour number 1. Kenny Omega, who was in the main event against Vikingo last week, defended tonight his IWGP United States Championship that he won back at the Tokyo Dome at the very beginning of this year from Will Ospreay. And tonight he defended it against another member of United Empire in Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb has been chasing after Omega now for many months, and he came all the way to the United States to claim his championship match. It took place tonight on Dynamite. They had a nice little video package for it to let you know who Jeff Cobb is and why we are having this match tonight. And this was not the kind of balls-to-the-wall spectacle that Omega and Vikingo was in the main event last week. They still went out there, though. They had a very good wrestling match, but beyond the match was what happened when the match was over. Because we had the Blackpool Combat Club surrounding the ring. Kenny Omega all by himself. They had already taken out the Young Bucks last week. They had already taken out Don Callis earlier in the show. Omega was all by himself. People in the crowd were chanting cowboy shit, expecting Hangman Page, who was also attacked earlier in the back by the Combat Club. He never came out, but Bryan Danielson did. First time that we've seen Bryan Danielson in the building since his loss to MJF at Revolution in the 1-hour Iron Man match. And Danielson came down to the ring, and it looked like he was sort of telling his boys to stand down. We haven't seen Bryan Danielson associating with the Blackpool Combat Club much now for many months. So we didn't know which side he was going to fall on. It looked like he was telling them to back off until he lowered the boom. And the running knee strike connects. Bryan Danielson joins in on the attack. Bryan Danielson, once again, is a heel. The entire Blackpool Combat Club back together again as heels, overwhelming Kenny Omega, leaving him laying in a major angle that really was the highlight of the entire show, and now sets the stage for what I assume will be in the next few months, the big blood and guts match, or at least one of the big blood and guts matches if they do more than one, possibly with the women, but I don't see how that makes any sense. This right here feels like is what they are building towards blood and guts for. There is one potential problem with that, because one of the members of the Elite is down with a serious injury, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that later on. So tonight was very heavy on the story side, with the main event, Adam Cole focusing, they're focusing on his head, dropped on his head a couple of times in the tease with Jericho, Omega, Don Callis being taken out, the Blackpool Combat Club stuff, Bryan Danielson's heel turn, Jungle Boy and MJF, which I'll talk about in the opening segment. They had a back and forth promo, very story driven show tonight. So if you are somebody who thinks that AEW does not do enough stories, they don't do enough story driven stuff, first of all, you're not really watching the show. But tonight is a show that should have been right up your alley, because there was plenty of storytelling going on the show tonight. But we also have some breaking news here on this stream. Breaking news that occurred after the show went off the air, for those who may not know. After the show tonight, Daniel Garcia got on the microphone and he challenged a major star from New Japan Pro Wrestling to a match at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, which is taking place this Friday night. It's a lot of wrestling coming up this weekend. That is one of the many shows on Friday alone. I'm going to be here talking SmackDown on Friday night, although in light of this announcement, maybe I made the wrong choice. I don't know. But Garcia extended a challenge for Super Card of Honor to former IWGP heavyweight champion Hiroshi Tanahashi. And Tony Khan came out and he has made the match official. And so now added at the last minute to Super Card of Honor this Friday night, Daniel Garcia will go one-on-one with Hiroshi Tanahashi. So we're getting Tanahashi and Shibata wrestling on the same show because Shibata is going to be wrestling Wheeler Yuta for the ROH Pure Championship. And that's in addition to Vikingo defending his AAA Mega title against Commander. And that doesn't even account for the Reach for the Sky ladder match to crown new tag team champions on Friday night, and Mark Briscoe challenging Samoa Joe for the television title, Eddie Kingston and Claudio for the Ring of Honor World title. So Tony Khan has really loaded up this pay-per-view on Friday night, and so that is some breaking news here before we get into the rest of the review, because this is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, March 29th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. Boy, there's a lot going on. A lot of wrestling that's going to be taking place this weekend. I'm very excited for it, as I know all of you are, I'm sure. Subscribe, because there is going to be a lot of content going up. Subscribe, turn on notifications, make sure that bell is on. So when I go live, new content hits the channel, and there will be a lot of content hitting the channel in the very near future, you will be alerted. 500 likes is the goal tonight for Be the Booker. That's what I need on this video. I need 500 likes. If we can hit 500, if you could do that for me, we will do Be the Booker. I will do that for you. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. That's how it works around here. So that is for later on in the stream. Super chats are open, as are channel memberships. I'm hoping to see a lot of new members of our Green World Order, of our family, by the end of this weekend. I want to grow our Green World Order to a new record if we can. So if you are not a channel member, or perhaps your membership lapsed, I hope you will consider renewing. And speaking of channel members, I want to mention this here before we get going, because I'm very excited to finally be back to doing this. But coming up tomorrow, if you are a channel member, the first episode of Sound Off Gamer WWE 2K23 is going to be hitting the channel. We are starting anew in My Rise mode with the Solomonster, or I guess as I am now called, The Lock. Why The Lock? Well, you'll have to watch the video and find out. Episode 1 is hitting the channel tomorrow. That is exclusively for channel members only. Moo. Oh boy. Moo. 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 Bobbert Reviews dropping an $80 Moo super chat. Now, how many of you remember what the hell the Moo was for? I want to know how many of you actually remember why I went Moo in that super chat. But yes, Sound Off Gamer is back. It is hitting for channel members only tomorrow. It will be live for everybody else on Monday. So if you are a channel member, you guys get early access. And you're going to have early access for several days, because with WrestleMania this weekend, I don't see the point in pushing it out for everybody until at least Monday. So channel members, you guys are going to get early access. Watch for that. It should be going up either mid-morning or early afternoon tomorrow. And believe me, it's an hour long. If you got an hour to kill, it'll be good for your Thursday afternoon, good for your entertainment. Now, before I get into all this here, I do want to mention, I want to extend my condolences to Bash, one of our folks in the chat. I'm very sorry to hear about your cousin. So we're all thinking about you. I just wanted to make that statement here before we get going, that we are all thinking about Bash in the live chat. Dynamite, shockingly, did not open with an Orange Cassidy match tonight, which they've been making a habit out of that many weeks over the last few months. With very few exceptions, Orange Cassidy, if he is on the show defending his international title as it is now, typically he's opening the show. So they broke with tradition. There was no Orange Cassidy match at the top of the show tonight. Shockingly, they opened with Jungle Boy going one-on-one with Matt Hardy. And Jungle Boy went for an early suicide dive. Hardy, though, caught him and hit a side effect on the floor. Ethan Page kept getting involved in the match. Eventually, Hook's music played, and he hooked on down to the ring. Started throwing shots at Ethan Page. Matt Hardy went outside, and he grabbed Jungle Boy, or he grabbed Hook, rather. Grabbed Hook from behind. When Page went to go hit Hook, though, he ducked and he struck Matt. So Hardy took the punch. Hook then fought Page to the back. Jungle Boy came off the ropes with a running forearm strike to the back of Matt's head, and he pinned him. Now, we've seen Jungle Boy using the snare trap submission before. Now he is trying to get over this. Excalibur called it an elbow. It looked like a forearm strike to the back of the head. It's like a knockout shot. So he knocked out Matt Hardy and pinned him. They immediately cut to Darby Allin, who was watching on a screen in the back. During the match, they also did the same for Sammy Guevara to show him and Ty Mello in the back. This is playing off when all of the pillars came out a few weeks ago during the MJF Bar Mitzvah segment, and they interrupted, seemingly setting up possibly a multi-man match for Double or Nothing. And so they're all observing. They're all paying attention to each other's matches now as we get closer and closer to the pay-per-view in May. The match was what it was. I mean, the match was okay. It was nothing special. But the real story came after the match. This was the big part of all this. When MJF, the AEW World Champion, walked down to the ring, he had a microphone in his hand, and he had something to say. Said he didn't appreciate when Jungle Boy interrupted his rebar mitzvah. He called it kind of a Kanye move. But one thing he said really stuck with him, that Jungle Boy did say, was after their match at Double or Nothing in 2020, that their career paths were very different. And he told Jungle Boy, he said, you had the audacity to say that I had it easy and that this place is the MJF show. He goes, guess what? You're right. Said, I barely wrestle. I barely break a sweat. I get to come out here and insult these losers. I go to the back. I collect my check. I hit the jet. Got my Learjet all gassed up and waiting for me to take me back to Long Island, New York, which is where they're going to be for Dynamite next week. Next week is MJF Day. We had the rebar mitzvah a couple weeks ago, and it's going to be MJF Day. How many days does this guy get? It's going to be MJF Day in Long Island next week. He goes, and then there's your career. Then there's Jungle Boy's career, which has been kind of mid. Says, but I'll give you credit. You worked your ass off having standout match after standout match after standout match. But, because I don't recall these people ever saying, thank you, Jack. And I also don't recall you being rewarded with that much television time, so you have every right to be pissed. But he said, you have no right to be pissed at me or this company. So you should be pissed at yourself. After we stole the show that year at Double or Nothing, I walked to the back, and I felt like I had just met my equal inside this ring. So for the first time, I felt like I had met the man that I would be waging war with for the rest of my time here in AEW. And I met a man that I respected. So I found you in the back that night, and I shook your hand. And do you remember what I told you that night? Jungle Boy took the microphone, or took a microphone, said that MJF told him from what he can recall that he had all the skills and all the potential in the world, but nice guys always finish last. And MJF told him that if he ever wanted to be as successful as him, he would have to ditch all of his friends and care about nobody but himself. And MJF said, that's exactly verbatim what I told you. He said that he continued to, he's talking about Jungle Boy. Said Jungle Boy continued to hang out with Marco Stunted Growth and Dino Douche and Christian Cage, and we all see how that worked out. All those guys held you back, and don't think that your pal Hook is going to be any different. You and I could have run this place. You and I could have been doing this for years. You could have been a world champion. But no, you had to be the good guy for these people. Where has being the good guy gotten you? He says, 3 years later, I'm the best pro wrestler in the world and the AEW World Champion. And you, well, you're just Jungle Boy. And Jack took the chance to retort. He said, a long time ago, maybe, somehow, some way, maybe you and I would be friends. And in a lot of ways, I wish I was more like you. Said, I wish that I could talk like you. I wish I had the confidence that you have. And there was some what chants from the crowd as he was doing his shtick here. Says, I wish that I didn't care about anybody else but myself. I wish that I didn't care about being the most selfish, narcissistic piece of shit in this entire place. But you know what? That ain't me. And if my road to the top is harder than yours because of it, then so be it. And when I beat you and become the AEW World Champion, at least I won't wake up alone every day and hate the person that I see in the mirror. I was surprised that he got away with the shit line, because I know that the hammer got dropped by Warner Brothers Discovery, that they don't want as much of the foul language on these shows. Even Jade Cargill went on Twitter about a week ago, and somebody said something about her catchphrase is, cut the shit. And she made a comment like, I'm not allowed to do that anymore. So I was surprised to hear him say that. MJF said that it only took him 4 years to learn how to talk. That was good. He said, Jungle Boy has turned out to be a massive disappointment. You're weak. You're weak in mind. You're weak in body and spirit. And by the way, he said, I pulled aside that hot piece of ass girlfriend of yours, Anna Jay, and she told me that you are weak between the knees. That was a bridge too far for Jungle Boy. He attacked MJF, stomped the mud hole in him in the corner. Then he got MJF up, dropped him with a lariat, and with MJF on his knees and his back turned, he hit the ropes. He was going to try for that running forearm strike to the back of the head, but MJF rolled out to the floor to avoid the move. So we got some live rounds here between these two men. Some good stuff here from MJF and Jungle Boy in that promo. I thought MJF pulled out some good fire from him that we don't always see. Although Jungle Boy's promos have improved from what they used to be. He's not an MJF on the microphone, but I thought he pulled some good stuff out of him. I'm looking forward to, because I assume now that MJF is going to do the same thing to Darby, and he's going to do the same thing with Sammy, and we're probably going to get some promo face-offs individually between them as well. I still assume that we're heading to a 4-way match at Double or Nothing, unless they're going to have these guys compete to crown a number one contender, and we end up with, MJF and Jungle Boy one-on-one, which is always possible. It's always possible that they boil it down to one contender. If they do that, though, I assume it's not going to be Darby, because MJF and Darby, that's a whole feud that you can do later in the year. And in fact, not only have I talked about that recently, and I've talked about Sting and what I would do, I got a great email from a listener today, and I'm going to mention this. I'm going to get into it in the mailbag on the podcast this Sunday. So shout out to Daniel. You know who you are. He had a great twist on the idea that I was talking about as far as how you get to MJF and Jungle Boy, and involving how Sting is involved, that I thought was actually brilliant. So I'm going to talk about that on Sunday. I would hold off on doing anything singles-wise with Darby, either for the end of the year or early next year, because I think Darby could be the one who takes that title off of him. You have a few potential options. It could be Darby. It could be, I don't think it'll be Jungle Boy, but it could be Darby. It could be Ricky Starks. It could be Wardlow by then if they can, rehab Wardlow enough. But this is good stuff from these two. Backstage, Don Callis was with Kenny Omega, who was in his locker room getting ready for his IWGP US title defense later on in the show. And Callis claimed that, what happened with Hangman Page, I guess it was last week at the end of the show, where he made it look like Hangman had assaulted him or pushed him down, and because Kenny didn't see what happened. Callis came clean, and he admitted to Omega. He said, look, I grabbed Hangman's wrist, I lost my balance, and what happened at the end of the show was my own fault. It was not Hangman's fault. But he asked Kenny, he said, why would you assume that Hangman just attacked me? And Omega said that Hangman has punched Callis before. Callis said that he needs to focus on Cobb. You keep your focus on Jeff Cobb. I'm going to go find Hangman Page and apologize personally to him. And off he went. We got footage of Matt Menard and Angelo Parker from the Jericho Appreciation Society taking the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn out for a night on the town recently, including a suite at the St. Louis Blues game. They all had a meal together at a restaurant after that. And Parker asked them if it was time to make a decision regarding their offer for them to join the JAS. And Anthony Bowens said that we need a little more time. We'll make our decision on Dynamite next week. I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that they don't join the Jericho Appreciation Society. Just what the JAS needs. More members. They add any more members, it's going to be like the NWO B team. That's the last thing that Jericho's group needs, are more members. So we were supposed to have a trios match with Dalton Castle and the boys from Ring of Honor taking on the Blackpool Combat Club. And I guess technically we did have a match, but not really. This is what you would call a very one-sided ass-kicking, is what this was. Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta, for the first time that I can remember, did not enter through the crowd. They actually came running out from the back during the entrance as Dalton Castle and the boys were making their entrance. They ran out from the back and they attacked them on the ramp from behind. Shout out to Griga, who just gifted 5 channel memberships to 5 very lucky people in the chat. So thank you, Griga. I appreciate the support very much. So they lay out Dalton Castle and the boys. And Moxley and Yuta, they're beating up Castle and they're beating up one of the boys outside the ring. In the ring is the other boy. And Claudio is, I mean, he's picking this guy up like he's a fucking rag doll. Ends up giving him the Ricola bomb for the quick win. And then all 3 members of the Blackpool Combat Club, as quickly as they appeared, jumped over the barricade and exited through the crowd. And that was the end of that. Not the last time that we would see them on this show. We got a good video package explaining the situation with Kenny Omega and Jeff Cobb and why we were getting an IWGP US title match tonight. It all dates back to New Year Dash, the night after the Tokyo Dome show, and Kenny won the US title from Ospreay. Cobb had sort of staked his claim to wanting to get a title shot, and Kenny said, look, you want a championship match, you come find me in America. And on this New Japan Cup tour that's been going on, Jeff Cobb has been like a one-man promotional machine, bringing up Kenny Omega, promoting this match. And so here we are with Omega versus Cobb in an AEW ring. Elsewhere, Hangman Page was being interviewed by Tony Schiavone. He said that Nick Jackson suffered a dislocated shoulder while Matt Jackson suffered a partially torn bicep. And for those who don't know, that is a shoot. That is a legitimate injury. Apparently the injury was sustained pretty early on in the Trios match a few weeks ago when the Elite defended their Trios belts against the House of Black. He tore his bicep, continued to wrestle. He worked the rest of the match. I'm sure it didn't feel too good. But he is legitimately out of action. My understanding is that Matt Jackson is not having surgery. He's going to rehab it on his own. He may not be disappearing from television completely. He may still appear on TV. But, you know, a torn bicep, that's at least a few months before you're able to come back. Now, they said partially torn, so maybe that's not as serious as it could have been, but he's going to be out for a while. And, you know, look, this poses a potential problem now, because if they're going to build to something with the Elite and the Blackpool Combat Club, which clearly they are, and even before they do Blood and Guts, I mean, they could wait until June or July to do Blood and Guts like they did last year, but I assume they're going to want to do something at Double or Nothing at the end of May. I don't see how he'll be able to get cleared and be back in time for Double or Nothing. Could be wrong, but from the sounds of it, he's going to be out longer than that. What do you do? Right? If you're down $1, then, you know, what do? You're going to have to figure out a way to replace him. And I have an idea for what they could do, but let's get into this here. So Schiavone asked him who attacked them last week. Who attacked the Young Bucks last week? Page assumed that it was the Blackpool Combat Club. Don Callis showed up, and as he told Kenny Omega that he would be doing, he said he was here to apologize to Hangman, which caught Hangman by surprise. Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta attacked. Now, Callis had put his hand out for a handshake from Hangman, who was very leery to accept. But before he could shake Callis's hand is when Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta attacked Hangman from behind. And so the entire time, Callis is still standing there with his hand extended. He doesn't put his hand down. He doesn't run off. He's just standing there with his hand out. And so finally, Moxley turns around and he sees Callis standing there, and Callis is trying to shake Moxley's hand. And Moxley smacks the sunglasses off his face and punches him right in the face. And down goes Don Callis, and he puts his foot on Callis's neck to hold him down on the ground. Now, the camera appeared up and away from Callis for a few seconds. When the camera went back down and showed Don Callis on the floor and the Blackpool guys walked off, Callis was busted wide open. This was not a small cut. He was busted wide open. There was already a little pool of blood on the floor. We got a Jon Moxley segment, and Jon Moxley is not the one who bled. It's very rare. Not very often can you say that you have a Jon Moxley segment and the person who bleeds is not Jon Moxley. So I'm sure he was very pissed off about that. And I did have a thought watching this. You know, was the attack on Callis part of a swerve? You know, what was it part of a swerve that is going to end up playing out where, you know, they wanted you to see them attack him to kind of throw you off the scent, and we're going to come to find out maybe that he's in cahoots with the Blackpool Combat Club? I don't think so, but the thought did occur to me that it is possible. The thought did cross my mind. Now, Jeff Cobb was out to the ring first. He was the challenger for the IWGP US Championship. I was surprised to see them doing this. It was 8:45, and they were already going to this match. Tony Schiavone approached Kenny Omega in the back. And Kenny Omega was already in the zone, right? He's standing there. He's getting ready for his music to play so he can come out and defend his championship. And here comes Tony Schiavone to break some news to Kenny Omega, who was completely unaware of what happened to Don Callis and Hangman Page. And he tells them that the Blackpool Combat Club attacked both of them. They attacked Don. And of course, this disturbed Kenny, but he's got to go out for his match, right? He's like, well, I got to go out. I have a championship. I'm like, good job, Tony. It's like, why don't you go tell the guy his dog died before he's about to go out for his big match instead of waiting until the match is over? Tony was like, oh, I just thought that you should know. No, you're just a shit stirrer is what you are. That's all you are. So Kenny looked conflicted, but he said, I got a match. I got to wrestle. So Omega goes out there. His elbow is all wrapped up. He had tape on his ribs, right? He was like the walking wounded out there. And that played into the match. That was part of the story of this match, was Jeff Cobb focusing in on the injuries, mainly the ribs, not so much the elbow, but it did play into the match. Cobb was a very different type of opponent for Omega in this match. You know, he had the match with Vikingo last week. Vikingo is a very different type of opponent. He was very fast-paced, right? A lot of crazy, insane spots and dives and moves that we haven't seen before. You didn't get any of that here in this match. This was more of a traditional wrestling match, but a good one. It got better in the second half. I thought it actually got a lot better in the second half. Cobb worked him over in the first half, and through the picture-in-picture break, it was all Jeff Cobb. It kicked up in the second half. Omega hit a few snapdragons on Cobb, who popped right back up after the last one and turned Kenny inside out with a lariat. Both men were down. Both men got a standing ovation. So the people were with him. They were into this match. Cobb followed that with a delayed vertical suplex from the middle rope. Cobb hit his own V-trigger, and he got Kenny up on his shoulders. He was going to use Kenny's own move against him. He was about to give him the one-winged angel when Kenny slipped out. Cobb did try for the tour of the islands, but again, Omega slipped out. And the ripcord knee sent Cobb into the ropes, draping over the middle rope. That gave Kenny the opening to hit the V-trigger to the back of the head. And Kenny got Cobb up on his shoulders and hit the one-winged angel for the win to retain the title. So again, not the spectacle of last week, but I thought this was a really good match. And I just love it whenever we get this version of Kenny Omega. You know, even his entrance. He didn't come out to Battle Cry. He came out to his New Japan music. This was New Japan Kenny Omega. This was Best Bout Machine Kenny Omega. So anytime we have a chance to see Omega in a big singles match like this on TV makes me happy. Because this is the Kenny Omega that, I wanted to see more of on television. And then he was gone for almost a year. Then he came back and he was doing trios matches, and then Brawl Out happened, and then he was, I guess, suspended for 3 months, and now he was gone again. Then he came back and was still doing trios matches, and now we have a chance to see him back in his element, doing singles matches. So, the other thing about this also, him beating Jeff Cobb, member of United Empire, retaining his title, which I never expected him to lose, it keeps things open now for the rematch with Will Ospreay, which I would assume is being planned for Forbidden Door. If it isn't, they should be. Come back around to that. Ospreay maybe can get his win back, take the U.S. title from Kenny in June. Now, after the match is where we had the major angle that they shot. Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta come back out. This time they came out of the crowd. And they surround the ring. And Kenny Omega is in the ring. He's all alone. He's all by himself. There's no Hangman Page. There's no Young Bucks. There's no Don Callis. He's hurting. Just wrestled a match against Cobb. All three men climbed up onto the apron when all of a sudden Bryan Danielson's music played. And it sounded to me like the crowd didn't realize it was him at first, even though, his music is instantly recognizable, but it didn't seem that way to the crowd because they didn't really react until he walked out. And when he walked out, he got a big reaction. So that was a little strange to me. But he came down to the ring and he joined Omega inside. He was acting like he disapproved of what the Blackpool guys were doing, and it was almost as if he was giving them directions to stand down. It kind of seemed that way. Now remember, it's been months since we've seen him associating with these guys, and he's been playing babyface. He had the big feud with MJF. So, it was entirely plausible that maybe this was going to be a story going forward where Danielson is conflicted. This is not the Blackpool Combat Club that William Regal started, that I signed up for, and you kind of tease which side is he on. They opted not to drag this thing out. They had an idea in mind, and that's what they gave us here. Danielson was barking at them, but Danielson goes, he puts his hand out to help Kenny Omega to his feet. Omega's looking at him. He's very leery. He doesn't trust this guy. He's down in the corner, but ultimately he accepts the gesture. He reaches up and grabs his hand, and Danielson helps him back to his feet. Yuta climbed up on the apron. Omega went after him, and then Yuta dropped down from the apron. But with Omega's back turned, you could see Bryan Danielson in the opposite corner setting up, and as soon as Omega turned around, Danielson caught him with the Busaiku knee, blasted him with the running knee strike right to the face. Instant boos from this crowd. Danielson put Omega in the yes lock, or the label lock, while the other three members of the group put the boots to Kenny. They also fought off Michael Nakazawa, who tried to run down. There were a bunch of security geeks who tried to run down. They got beaten up. All four members of the Blackpool Combat Club celebrated to a chorus of boos. Danielson got down on the mat. This was very telling. Grabbed Omega and started yelling at him, and the mic barely picked up what he said, but if you watched, you could see what he said. He's yelling at Omega, "You are everything that is wrong with wrestling." I can think of a few people who were probably watching this who were in great agreement with Bryan Danielson, who were saying they agree with Bryan Danielson. This was excellent. I thought that Danielson would take some more time off, maybe come back closer to Double or Nothing, or Forbidden Door if you wanted to take an extended break. So this was unexpected that we would get him back tonight, but I don't have a problem with them going heel with him. And really with all of them. Heel Bryan Danielson is just as fun as babyface Bryan Danielson. Actually, he can be a very vicious heel. We've seen him be a vicious heel before. So I don't have an issue with that at all. And here's the other reason why I like this so much. Because it means that we are probably at some point going to get another match between Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, which we have not seen since they did the match at the first Grand Slam show a couple years ago at Arthur Ashe. That huge match, right, between Omega and Danielson, their first match since like 2009 in PWG, I think. And it was great. And now we have the potential to get it again. Or at the very least, we're going to get it in tag team form. Sign me up. I'm all for another Omega Danielson match. In fact, the more I think about this, I mean, I think that the goal would be to do Omega and Ospreay for the U.S. title in June, but I would not be opposed. In fact, I might even endorse the idea of doing Omega and Danielson for the IWGP US title and having Bryan Danielson win the IWGP US title. And that would then give him a reason at some point to actually go to Japan, which we have not seen him do since all these pandemic restrictions were lifted, and compete on Japanese soil. Now, if he went back there as the US champion, even better. Ospreay, Danielson, doesn't matter to me. Either one of those matches, if they wanted to do a title change, I think would be fantastic. So I'm all for doing that match again. I like the storytelling with Omega. From the start of the show, when he was in the back with Callis, and Callis was trying to explain to him what happened last week and how he was going to go apologize to Hangman, right on through the match and the post-match, and Omega, he was hurt, selling the injuries, and when Callis was taken out, the Bucks were taken out, no Hangman Page there. Where does he stand? I'm sure at some point very soon we're going to have the two of them back together. It'll be Omega and Hangman patching up their differences probably and standing side by side. I think that's great. So again, there's a lot of storytelling going on here around Kenny Omega on this show tonight. I don't know what they're going to do with Matt Jackson if he can't make it back in time for Double or Nothing, if they do an Anarchy in the Arena type thing again, or if they do Blood and Guts sooner. They did it in July. I think they did it right after Forbidden Door last year. So if they do it that late, he could be back in time potentially. But the idea that I was referencing before is Takeshita. Konosuke Takeshita. And if the Elite need an extra somebody to stand with them, I am sure that Takeshita would fit that role perfectly, especially when you consider the fact that Don Callison's storyline has been recruiting this kid now for months. It's obviously going somewhere. You can plug Takeshita in there very easily if Matt Jackson can't go and you need somebody to step in and replace him. So we'll see what happens with the Matt Jackson situation. But this was great. This was the major angle on the show, and it really feels now like we have a rivalry and a feud worthy of that Blood and Guts stipulation when they get there. Now, we got a video package showing FTR. We had the segment with FTR and the Guns last week, where Dax Harwood, FTR Bald, agreed to the stipulation that if you give us a tag team championship match and we can't beat you, we can't win those AEW tag team titles, we'll quit. FTR will quit the company. So they recapped that angle. And then there was also a sit-down interview, and this was part of a promo package. This was not like a live interview. But we had Austin and Colton Gunn saying that FTR are one of the best tag teams of their generation. Austin said that it took FTR 19 years to become the tag team champions and get to the top of the mountain. It only took them 2 to reach that same level. Colton said the only man they ever respected was their own father, and look what they did to him. And he said next week, FTR was going to live up to their catchphrase because it is going to be top guys out. That match is going to take place on Dynamite next week. We had Orange Cassidy defending his AEW International Championship against The Butcher. Every time I say The Butcher, I can't help but think of Ed Leslie. The Butcher was his gimmick first. The Butcher was one of his many gimmicks, in fact. Old Brother Brutai over there used to be The Butcher in WCW. Although this Butcher here in AEW looks a lot more intimidating than he did back then. The Blade was out there with the Butcher. And the Blade got himself ejected before the bell even rang because he was trying to use a crowbar on Orange Cassidy. And the referee caught him, and the referee, I think it was Stephon Smith, ejected him from ringside. So the Blade was gone before the match even began. Butcher worked over Orange Cassidy's ribs heading into the commercial break. The story with Cassidy is that he has been defending this championship nonstop, and it looks like it's starting to wear on him a little bit. He's not 100% now when he comes out for these matches. So the Butcher was working over his ribs. The Butchers like ribs. So I guess it kind of makes sense if you think about it, right? That the Butcher would be going after the ribs. Is that a dad joke? Butcher tried for a power bomb. Cassidy gouged the eyes, tried for an orange punch, but Butcher countered into a choke breaker. Cassidy fought back with a stun dog millionaire and a diving DDT off the top. After he recovered, Butcher was distracting the referee. So he missed the blade, coming back out and hitting Orange Cassidy in the ribs with that crowbar. He did not see him do that. Butcher tried for a quick cover. Cassidy still kicked out. Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta came out to take care of the blade. The referee missed Butcher getting hit, I think by Trent, with the crowbar in the gut. Orange punch, beach break followed, and that put away the Butcher. So yes, I think the story around Orange Cassidy is that all of these title defenses on television here are starting to wear on him, and perhaps that's setting up for a title change very soon. I would think by Forbidden Door, if not sooner, he's going to drop that championship. The only question is to who. We got a pre-tape promo with Jade Cargill, Smart Mark Sterling, Layla Gray, and a woman holding their cease and desist letter. And Jade said that Taya Valkyrie is a problem. She complained that Taya not only ignored the cease and desist regarding her using Jade's finishing move, trying to ban her from using her finishing move, but Taya actually hit the move on Sterling and Layla. And Jade said that this woman is their legal processor, and she would serve Taya with an official court order. This is giving me WCW vibes when Booker T was not allowed to use the letter T anymore. And so instead of introducing him as Booker T, he was being introduced as just Booker. And there was a whole feud, a whole program built around the letter T. Almost positive this was a Russo storyline. If the timelines match up, I would almost bet anything. It was a Russo storyline. Maybe it came before Russo. I'm going to bet you it was a Russo storyline. Anyway, the point is, this is dumb. We had Ruby Soho, one-on-one against her former tag team partner, Willow Nightengale. I was going to say Ruby Nightengale. Ruby Soho against Willow Nightengale. They had as good of a match as you could have with all of the constant interference. And I get that's their gimmick, but the constant interference from Saraya and Toni Storm. And still, these two went out and had, I thought, a good match. Without the interference, it would have been even better. Or you just do the one interference spot instead of doing it 3, 4, 5 times. Willow got a nice spine buster and a Death Valley driver. Aubrey Edwards at one point saw Toni Storm shaking the middle rope while Willow was up there and did absolutely nothing about it. Good to know. Ruby hit a pair of no future kicks, had the match won, seemingly, but Willow was able to kick out. And that got a nice response from the crowd because the people like Willow. People like Willow Nightengale. There's something about this girl when she wrestles and makes people happy. And she gets good crowd responses. Willow launched Ruby with a pounce, and she wanted a Dr. Bomb, but for the millionth time, Saraya distracted the referee, and Ruby got the win with a roll-up and her feet on the ropes. After the match, the Outcasts attacked Willow. Ruby went to ringside, came back in with a chair. They wrapped a chair around Willow's leg. They were going to break her ankle. And Riho and Sky Blue ran down to the ring to go after the heels. They were outnumbered very quickly. And they were about to spray paint Riho when all of a sudden, now Riho is going to be challenging Jamie Hayter next week for the AEW Women's Championship. And so before they could spray paint Riho, we hear Jamie Hayter's music, and Jamie Hayter bolts down to the ring. She gave Ruby the hate breaker across the knee. She set up for a short arm clothesline on Toni Storm, and Toni Storm was able to avoid it. Right? She avoided the lariat, and it's a good thing that she did, because if you saw this, she threw her entire body into this lariat where if Tony would have just taken a wrong step, or if Tony would have, let's say, forgotten the spot, she would have been picking up her teeth in the front row. I mean, Jamie almost fell out of the ring. There was so much momentum behind this lariat. And anyway, Tony was able to escape with her life, and the heels bailed. I tell you what, I am looking forward to this title match next week with Riho and Jamie Hayter, if for no other reason, because Jamie Hayter should break this girl in half. This girl has got to be 90 pounds, soaking wet, and Hayter should theoretically break this woman in half. So I'm very curious. I'm intrigued to see how they work this match and how these two work together. But that is going to be the match next week for the championship on Long Island. It's going to be Jamie Hayter defending against Riho on the show next week, and I would assume that we will have even more interference from the Outcasts. That's kind of their gimmick now, is that they interfere a lot. The main event was Adam Cole, back in the ring for the first time in nearly 9 months. Going one-on-one with Daniel Garcia, the return of main event Garcia here on this show. Garcia hit a pile driver, stuffed pile driver heading into the commercial break, and Cole immediately rolled out to the floor. He was holding his head and neck. Referee went out to check on him. Excalibur on commentary was expressing concern. After the break, Cole made a comeback, still selling the head and neck. Garcia put Cole in a sharpshooter. Cole got to the ropes for the break. Another pile driver from Daniel Garcia. Got a close near fall. Cole came back with the Panama Sunrise, lowered the boom to the back of the head, and pinned Daniel Garcia. This went about 10 minutes, not a long main event. But, again, this I don't want to call it a tune-up match. He wasn't really tuning up for anything, but it's his first match back, right? You're going to give him a win. So you're not going to put him in there with somebody like a Jericho or a Moxley or, a major name like that. Daniel Garcia is somebody who can go in there, who could work a decent match with him and take the loss. And nobody bats an eyelash because Daniel Garcia is not the star here. Adam Cole is the star. Daniel Garcia could have been potentially a star, but they abandoned that whole storyline many months ago, and so now he is what he is. Now, after the match, Britt Baker walked down to the ring. She hugged her man, and her and Adam Cole, they kissed. Right? They shared a moment in the middle of the ring, and all of a sudden, we have black and gold confetti and streamers falling from the ceiling. You would think this was the main event of WrestleMania, the way that the streamers were everywhere here. You could barely see Adam Cole. He was covered in streamers. This, of course, the black and gold are the colors of Britt's favorite football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. So then we heard Judas and Chris Jericho looking not very happy at all. The big sourpuss on his face. I'll bet he had that same look on his face after that Instagram post the other day. So he came down to the ring to check on Daniel Garcia. Now, Jericho never looked directly at Adam Cole. He never, stared at him in the ring. But as he was helping Garcia away from the ring, he kind of looked back over his shoulder, like he was kind of giving a look in the direction of Adam Cole without looking directly at him. Like he didn't even respect him enough to look the man in the eye. And so Jericho's walking up the ramp with Garcia. When they got to the top of the stage, Jericho again looked back over his shoulder in the direction of Adam Cole. So they were not being very subtle about this. They were making it very clear what the direction is now, going, I assume, into Double or Nothing. I know the pay-per-view is still 2 months away, but I can't see them giving this match away on TV. So we have a sense now of what the direction is going to be for Cole and Jericho going into the next pay-per-view. I still feel like the plan is, as long as he can stay healthy, to get Adam Cole to All Out in Chicago, where he will challenge MJF for the world title in September. And again, we don't know what's going to happen with CM Punk, and he's still technically under contract with AEW. Tony Khan could always bring him back. And if that happens, they're going to be in Chicago in September, then there's no way he doesn't main event that show. But let's assume that's not going to happen. I think the plan is to set up for Adam Cole and MJF in September. Now, I know why they closed with this, but that IWGP match, that was the real headliner of the night. That and the angle that came after the match, that was the highlight of the show for me. And they told some stories all throughout the night. Again, MJF and Jungle Boy telling their own stories in their promos back and forth. The Omega stuff, the Danielson turn, Cole's return from injury with Garcia targeting the head and neck, Jericho coming out, teasing a storyline direction with Adam Cole. So there were a lot of different stories going on what I thought overall was a good show. I thought this was a good show tonight. Now, Rampage this Friday has Sammy Guevara taking on Takeshita. We have Best Friends getting in the ring with Malachi Black and Brody King, the kings of the Black Throne. Taya Valkyrie against Marina Shafir. And Juice Robinson takes on Action Andretti. Next week on Dynamite, Juice Robinson and Ricky Starks are going to have their match. Jamie Hayter and Riho for the AEW Women's Championship. Gun Club against FTR for the AEW Tag Team titles, where FTR will quit AEW if they lose. We will, I guess, be getting an answer from the Acclaimed on whether or not they'll be joining the JAS. And it is going to be MJF Day on Long Island. So, pretty big episode next week. That's a lot of shit that they've announced this far in advance, right? A couple of title matches on the show next week. And we'll have our answer as far as what the future holds for FTR. Let's take a look at the Twitter poll. 68.7%. Boy, we've been very consistent with these polls over the last week or so, right? We had 69 the other night. You guys gave me a 69 on the stream the other night. Well, we're just shy of 69 here for Dynamite. 17% thumbs in the middle, 14.2% thumbs down. You can always vote. Follow along with me at Solomonster, especially this weekend. We're heading into WrestleMania weekend. There's going to be a lot of wrestling going on. So this would be a good time to follow along at Solomonster on Twitter. I mentioned the news earlier today about the WWE Hall of Fame, for those who may not have heard about it or may not have seen it. On the bump, Kayla Braxton made the announcement that former WWE referee, and he was more than just a referee. I mean, he really did help out a lot behind the scenes, even years after he wasn't working officially for the company anymore. I don't even think he was under contract. And he would still show up to some of the events and the WrestleManias, and he would help out, and especially at some of the autograph signings and stuff. Tim White. Tim White is going to be the recipient of the Warrior Award this year. They had a very nice video package for him on the bump that I assume they will replay on Friday night, and he will be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. And hopefully he is the first of many referees going forward that they will induct. This is the first time a referee is going into the Hall of Fame. And there are plenty of deserving, worthwhile candidates for induction. Go back to the NWA days and talk about Tommy Young, but even just in WWE. I mean, you can talk about Tommy Young and Nick Patrick and referees from outside the company. I guess Nick Patrick technically did, referee in WWE after they bought WCW. But you think about the Hebners and Mike Chioda, Tim White's going to be going in, Jimmy Corderas, Jack Doan. I mean, there's a lot of different... Joey Morella, right? The late Joey Morella is another one. What about Danny Davis? Remember Dangerous Danny Davis? So hopefully he is the first of many, but Tim White was a good guy. You don't hear anything negative about Tim White. I only met him very briefly one time in an airport. Again, when I say brief, it was maybe 2 minutes. We were both at the counter together at the airport coming out of, I guess that would have been... I don't remember which number. It was one of the WrestleManias, but just a sweetheart of a guy. He was all over the Andre documentary that HBO did. Bill Simmons did a few years ago, and he was Andre's guy. He was his travel companion, and he was there for Andre, whatever needs he had on the road. And he's probably got so many Andre stories, it's almost a shame he didn't write a book. But anyway, so that completes the Hall of Fame class. Rey Mysterio, Great Muta, Stacy Keibler, Andy Kaufman, and Tim White. That's your Hall of Fame class for Friday night. A small class, but a lot of very deserving people. are going to be going in this weekend. There's far too many who unfortunately belong in there who still are not. Time is ticking away, but it's a pretty good Hall of Fame class this year. So let's talk about your Super Chats here, because I know you guys have a bunch of questions for me. Questions, comments. Let me know what you thought about the show tonight. I want to hear from you guys. We are still a ways off from Be the Booker, so we might fall short tonight. But I think we're about 130 likes away, so let's get those likes up if we can. Let us begin with Where the Fuck I Am, with the $1.99 Super Chat. How about a top 8 video packages list? That could be an idea at some point. I've talked about video packages before on the podcast, some of my favorite ones. I don't know why top 8. Probably would be a top 10. Definitely possible. Tuxedo T Servo, thank you for the $10, Tux. Hope I see you this weekend. Como Amosto with the $9.99. What wrestling memories that stand out did you have with your parents before their passing? And for those who don't know the backstory, how did you get involved with House of Glory? 5 years ago. High Intensity, their big summer event. I was invited in to help out, do kind of like a WWE-esque pre-show. That was really the only plan. JD was doing commentary for them at the time. And that went well, and I was there as an observer, and I was asked if I wanted to sit in on a match to do commentary with the other announcers. And the first match I ever did commentary for was actually an Austin Aries Impact Wrestling World Championship Open Challenge. So, an Impact World title match was the first match I ever did commentary for. That'll be a little footnote one day. But that's how that started. As far as wrestling memories, I guess with my parents when I was a kid, I mean, the one that stands out to me is when we went to Fan Access at WrestleMania 10 back in '94. Got to meet a whole... I didn't go to WrestleMania that year. We couldn't afford tickets, but we got tickets to one of the Fan Access days. It was the first time they ever did a fan festival. That's what they called it, Fan Fest at the time. So that, and a lot of other house shows and stuff that I went to. Madison Square Garden, Nassau Coliseum, the Meadowlands when I was a kid. A lot of good memories. Naughty Delicious Chicken with Flavor. Hey, Todd Warner, channel member for 4 months. Says, hello, Solo. Hello. Hello, Todd. Naughty Delicious. Says, now I want the Outcast and Blackpool Combat Club to burn down the entire company to the ground. Burn the entire company to the ground, you say? Red Emissary of Darkness in the chat. What are you talking about? Are you talking to me or are you talking to somebody else? Jacob Donnelly with the $10 super chat. I haven't heard from Jacob in a while. The music is way off. Hold on a second. I'll just turn it off. Is that better? What do you mean it's way off? I don't know what you mean by that. Let me know what you mean by that. I'll turn it off for now. Jacob, been really digging the direction of AEW post-Revolution, having the Elite back in a top program as well as the Four Pillars feud have made the show more must-see. Yeah, I mean, they've had a better focus, I think, with these shows over the last few weeks. And I like the focusing on the younger talent, so... Bobbert Reviews, again, thank you for that $80 super chat drop. Bobbert, I appreciate that very much. Thank you, sir. Rizzo with the $20 super chat. I am interested to hear what you and the chat think about this. Rumors are Orton is going to be in LA, and I was thinking a way to protect Cody while taking the pin and getting Roman to 1,000 days. What if Orton costs Cody? Yeah, I was thinking about that too. But is that really how you want to end a WrestleMania main event, by having interference, like a run-in type interference in the main event of WrestleMania? I guess you could. But I wouldn't do that. It's not something I would do. If you're going to do an angle with Orton, I would do it on TV the next night. You do it on Raw the night after or something, especially if he wins the title. Down bad. What happened to the Jade Cargill Bow Wow feud? I was so excited for that. I hope you're being sarcastic. I hope you're being sarcastic. I cannot take that seriously. Let's just be happy that it got dropped and not even talk about it. Let's not even will that into existence. Mr. LH, hi from the UK. Blackpool Combat Club are brutal. Is that brutal in a good way or brutal in a bad way? Hold on a second. Let me put the music back. I think I know what Red Emissary was talking about. Hold on a second. I think I know. He said he heard like an echo. I think I know why. Hold on. Let me put the music back on. Let me see here. I think I might know why. Oh, maybe not. Well, we'll mute that. All right. Well, anyway, you guys will let me know. It should be good now. Red Emissary, you'll let me know. Everything should sound good. Andy VR Omni with the $4.99. It is a shame, really. By the time Randy the Ram will be done in his feud with Adam Cole, it'll be Double or Nothing 2024. Seriously, Adam Cole, just do the one match and run. Yes. Yes, we know how some of these Jericho feuds can go. Hopefully it will not drag on for too long. Griga, I will be going to my first WrestleMania. Any helping tips? Just have fun, and you're going to WrestleMania in LA, and so as they said on television on Monday night, just make sure you get there early, because LA traffic is a bitch. So do not wait until the last minute to get to the stadium. But otherwise, just have fun, man. Don't burn yourself out. I don't know, you doing other wrestling shows, or are you just doing Mania? Because when I used to go, I would end up doing a whole bunch of different things, and I would just be fucking exhausted by the time the day was over. Bernard Frederick, what's up, Solo? It's been a minute since I've sent a super chat. Keep up the good work, my dog. Thank you, Bernard. Blissfan, your sister is going to night 1. How come she's not going to night 2? Does she not want to see Roman Reigns? Gary with the $6. Hey, Solomonster, thank you for all that you do and for your subscribers. You're awesome. Love your videos. Enjoy WrestleMania at the weekend, my friend. Well, you as well, Gary. I'm looking forward to this show this week. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania this year. Arabian Night 2000. Where is Swerve? He is super underrated and could be in the main event scene. Imagine a Starks and Swerve program. You think he would be used better by Triple H? I don't know if he and Triple H really got along great. I don't know. I remember hearing or reading things about him not being thrilled with how he was used at NXT. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that things would be much better for him under Triple H. But, I got yelled at by somebody. I got yelled at by one of the AEW bots the other day on Twitter when I made mention of the fact that, we need to see Swerve more on Wednesday nights, right? That's the only comment I made. I said, we need to see more Swerve Strickland on Dynamite. How come we don't see him on Dynamite, right? Because I know he is on Rampage sometimes. And so there were a couple of AEW bots that popped up. They kind of get a whiff, right? They pop up and automatically it's like, he's on, you realize he's on Rampage on Friday nights, right? So you're saying he's not on television, but Tony Khan's putting him on Rampage, so you're wrong. You're just choosing not to watch it. Mind you, I never said anything about not watching Rampage. I try to catch Rampage every week, the day after it airs. But because I even suggested that Swerve should be on Wednesdays, the AEW bots got very uptight about that, right? Because they don't like it when you say anything even remotely negative about AEW. They get their panties in a bunch and they just don't like that. It was amazing. It's the only comment I made, and you would think that I said that Swerve sucks and I don't want to see him on television at all. These people are demented. They really are. They have something in their brain is just very, 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 very screwed up. Big Talon 256. I don't know how likely it is, but maybe Kota Ibushi replaces Matt. It'll probably be a Dark Order member, but hey, a man can dream. You know what? That's right. Kota Ibushi is a free agent. Kota Ibushi is now in the U.S. He flew in yesterday, I think it was. GCW tweeted a picture of him at the airport. He has arrived. He's going to be wrestling for GCW this weekend, Friday night. I think he's wrestling Joey Janela, and I think on the other night he's wrestling Speedball Mike Bailey. Yeah, he's a free agent, so all Tony Khan has to do is make the deal. You make the deal and bring in Kota. You know what? That actually would be perfect if they needed a replacement. Devin from NJ2000, has Solomonster ever had to work with children? I work with children every day. I deal with children every fucking day. You kidding me? I'm sick and I'm old and I'm tired and I hear from children on my timeline every day. Where's my muffin? Griga, whatever happened to Zion Quinn? Good question. Maybe an injury? I don't know. Don't know. Have not even thought about Zion Quinn. Barely think about NXT at all anymore. But I have no idea. I would assume it's an injury. So where are we at? 90. We got 90 more likes are needed here. When you got 90 more likes needed for Be the Booker, I don't know. I don't know, guys. First timer, how did the Triple H joking voice come about? Ringa Kinga. I've never seen him speak that way before, but people have mocked him for it in the past. It was a Rock promo. It was a Rock promo on Raw many years ago where he did the Triple H, I'm the game, and I'm gonna stand in the ring, and I'm gonna talk for 20 minutes and not say anything. Yeah, you can thank The Rock for that. Anti-M-Bishop07 with the $20 super chat drop. Congrats on over 800 episodes. Thank you. Job well done. Dynamite was great tonight. Looking forward to the indie ROH stuff more than Mania this weekend. The next Hog show looks damn good. Yeah, the next show looks pretty damn good, and that doesn't even include the Vikingo show. We got Vikingo coming into House of Glory on June 16th. We got 2 shows even before we get to the Vikingo show. But we just announced Jacob Fatu defending the HOG World Championship against Willie Mack. Coming up on April 14th. That's a Friday night. Coming up in a few weeks. And Charles Mason defends the Crown Jewel title against Leo Rush. And we got the Rascals coming in. Among many other matches. So it's gonna be a good show. Food Hive. Butcher loves ribs. Leave the food puns to the pros. I will leave the food puns to Food Hive from now on. You have my word. Marcus the Entertainer. AEW All Access. It is a documentary-style reality show. It's an easy watch. They got right to the juicy stuff to hook the fan, but it was a good watch. Well, I will check it out tomorrow, and if I have any thoughts on All Access, I will share that with you on the podcast on Sunday. Rizzo with the $20 super chat. Now, bro, don't blame me for the T story, bro. Bro, I wanted to do the TNA characters, but bro, damn AOL Time Warner wouldn't let me, bro. So I had to do the T. Bro, don't make me get involved with the HOG and put you on a poll, bro. Can you imagine the promoter comes to me one day and says, hey, I need you to make an announcement. We got Vince Russo coming in. And I had to go out there and make this big announcement that we got Vince Russo coming in for an appearance. I don't think Solomonster would be the commissioner anymore. Actually, we might be able to sell some tickets off that feud, right? You never know, right? Marcus Metcalf, Daniel Garcia against Tanahashi for Super Card of Honor. Yes, I had that breaking news at the beginning of the stream tonight. Rizzo with the $10. I might be too involved with this chat, but when Jade called herself the goddess, I blurted out, "Oh God, I hope BlissFan didn't hear that." I hope BlissFan didn't hear that. My dad then asked me, "Who the hell is BlissFan?" And I explained. Yes, but okay, so what was your father's response once you explained that? You can't leave me hanging like that, Rizzo. What was your father's response when you explained what BlissFan was? Cyrus the Virus, Jericho is not top 100. That's certainly an opinion. Daniel Manuel, Jericho typically has decent feuds when they don't last 18 months. Cautiously optimistic about Cole against Jericho. When am I going to be talking about Punk and Moxley? I was going to mention something earlier, but I'm going to save it for Sunday. I have a lot to say about the Moxley thing on the podcast on Sunday. Hollywood Guy. They should send Miro and Matt Cardona to WWE, and the MJF and Jungle promo was fire. What do you mean they should send Miro and Matt Cardona? Who should send? Who is this? Who is this they? Matt Cardona isn't even under contract to AEW. Luther Angel, I missed the show because I canceled Sling TV. Is there a cheaper way to watch Dynamite weekly? Well, chat, let Luther in. What are his options here? I am using YouTube TV. But YouTube TV, they keep raising the basic rate. So it's going to be $73 a month starting next month for the basic plan. I don't know what you were paying for Sling. But I know you get TNT and TBS and USA on YouTube TV. Juan Ocampo, let me help you carry the AEW water, you shill. Please do. I mean, I can only carry so much. I need some help here. I have 2 pails in my hand. I need some assistance here. Pharaoh's Perspective on Wrestling sent a $4.99 super chat. Congrats on defeating your your title. Listen, they said little. Congrats on defeating your. No, see, you fucked me up here because you were wrong. Okay, that's why I got fucked up on your super chat. You meant defending. And it says defeating, so I thought that said little. So basically, we're both a bunch of fucking morons. Congrats on defending your title tonight against the Butcher. Respect the fact that you're live tonight after the match. Well, Pharaoh, thank you. I got a job to do. You know? Can't leave you guys hanging. I got to be here. You know, next Wednesday is actually a holiday. It's a high holy day, and where do you think I'm going to be? I'm going to be right here. To be missing. I'm not going to my my family's house on Long Island because I'm going to be here. We got Dynamite this week. EJ Slemp with the $4.99. I actually work with children, and most of them are more mature than half of the wrestlers today, especially Sammy Guevara. I don't doubt that that's true. Rizzo, he said this chat sounds interesting. Well, tell your dad to sign up, and maybe somebody will gift him a membership. And Rizzo says, predictions for your Mets. My predictions for my Tigers are another rough year, 64-98 is going to be their record. Bad baseball is better than no baseball. I agree. I'm very happy that baseball is back. The Mets opener is tomorrow, actually. It's hard to predict, losing their the best fucking closer out there is going to really put a crimp in their plans. But as far as predicting a record, look, I think they'll make the postseason. Beyond that, I can't say. How many games are they going to win? I have no idea. If Diaz were healthy, I would tell you right now, they'd win at least 95 games. Without him, it's going to be a struggle. Maybe 80 if they're lucky. I still think they'll find their way into the postseason. And Arabian Night, buy or sell on the better WWE fit. Josh Alexander or Jacob Fatu? Oh, Jacob Fatu. Josh Alexander is very talented. And I felt bad for him that he suffered the triceps tear. He's going to be gone for quite some time. So he had to forfeit the Impact World title after almost a year as champion. But as great of a wrestler as he is, Jacob Fatu, not only would he be a good fit in WWE, I think he'd be a good fit to keep this Bloodline storyline going. Get Jacob Fatu involved in that thing, man. That adds a whole new element. You can keep the Bloodline shit going for at least another year and a half with that. But no, Jacob Fatu, I am very fortunate to be able to see him work in person and to, call his matches in House of Glory. So I've seen him in the ring with a lot of different opponents, people that are bigger than him, people who are smaller, opponents of all different types. And I've seen his work in MLW as well. And he's incredible. The way he moves around the ring, the things he does, the mighty moonsault that he does. He would be a great fit for WWE one day, and I think he would do very well. I think he would get over very well. Boswell thinks the White Sox are going to win the World Series. Well, it's nice to dream, I suppose, right? It's nice to dream. There's a lot of Samoans. There are quite a few Samoans out there. The Samoan bloodline is very strong. Samoan bloodline will never die. All right, so we fell short tonight on the Be the Booker side. It happens sometimes. It's disappointing, but we will try again on Friday night. That is going to be the SmackDown stream. So let me give you guys just a quick update on what we're doing here. So if you missed it, tomorrow, and I'll throw this back up on screen here for you, the first installment of Sound Off Gamer for 2K23 is going to hit tomorrow. Yeah. As soon as Bushwhacker Solomonster gets off the screen here. Yeah, goodbye. So yes, the Sound of Gamer 2K23 first installment going to hit for channel members tomorrow. Channel members get early access, so that's going to be going up tomorrow. Watch for that. You guys will have it first for a few days before everybody else. Friday night, I'm going to be live on YouTube talking SmackDown. That's the show that we're going to cover because I'm just not going to have time to catch all the other things that there are. I will try to watch I want to watch that Ring of Honor pay-per-view, and I will. I just hope I have time to do it this weekend. If I do, I could talk about it on Sunday on episode 802. But Friday night, live here for SmackDown. Saturday night, night one, WrestleMania review. As soon as WrestleMania is over, you come on back here. We'll talk about WrestleMania. Sunday is episode 802, as we have every single Sunday. The podcast, we're going to be talking not just WrestleMania, Stand and Deliver. I'll have my thoughts on that. All Access, I'll try to watch the AEW show, and if I have any thoughts on that, I'll share it there. I'll have a lot to say about the Jon Moxley CM Punk stuff. Nick Khan did an interview on a podcast that made some news today and had a few interesting things to talk about. So, and Ronda Rousey, for that matter, had some interesting comments about WWE Creative and her feud with Liv Morgan. So there'll be a lot to cover on the podcast on Sunday, and then Sunday night is night 2 of WrestleMania 39. Roman Reigns against Cody Rhodes. Who's walking out the undisputed champion? It could go either way. Yeah, one of the things I like about the WrestleMania main event this year is the fact that the outcome is not at all predictable. It really isn't. It really is. It's certainly less predictable than it was last year. Less predictable than it's been now for the last several years. You could conceivably see it going either way. Some people are convinced that Roman Reigns is not going to lose. I happen to think there's a very good chance Roman Reigns is going to win. Even though I predicted a Cody win. I'm going to stick with that. Could go either way. So we'll talk about it, the good, the bad, the ugly on Sunday night, and then back here again live Monday night for the post-WrestleMania edition of Monday Night Raw. So a lot of good shit coming to the channel here. One last super chat from EJ Slemp with the $4.99. Today I rewatched the John Cena Rey Mysterio WWE title match on Raw from 2011. I think it is the most underrated match in Raw history. Are you a fan of that match? I don't think I have watched that match since the night that it aired. And I remember enjoying it. I don't remember it being anything that I felt like I had to go back and rewatch. So I can't sit here and agree with you and call it the most underrated match in history. But I probably should go back and watch it. Because it's been a very long time since I've seen it. We got some more super chats coming in here. Look at this. Kicking out at 2.5, I see. It's Bullsy. Dropping $10. Says, what's up? A nice time for wrestling, at least, by the way. John Moxley out speaking about the drama is actually surprising and unexpected, being that he never gives anybody any problems. Yeah, and you could tell he didn't want to talk about that. He was actually supposed to be on Renee's podcast last week, and their kid got sick, and it got pushed back, and it just so happened that shit went down, and so she had the chance to ask him about it. And he didn't want to leave his wife hanging, so you know he held back quite a bit. There's a lot more I'm sure that he could have said. He said as much that he could have unloaded on multiple people, which I thought was also very interesting. Multiple people? Who are these people that he could have unloaded on? But he said his piece and moved on, you know, because he just doesn't obviously have a tolerance for this type of shit. And you know that he doesn't have a tolerance for it because he's not even on Twitter. He's not on Twitter. He's not on Instagram. WWE forced him to make a Twitter account back in like 2012. And I don't know if it's still up or not, but it sat there for years. I think until maybe his book came out, he started using social media a little bit. But, you know, he seems like a guy who just doesn't have a tolerance for that kind of shit, which I kind of respect. Social media, I think, in a lot of ways, is one of the downfalls of the wrestling business. A lot of wrestlers have said a lot of really dumb shit on social media. Bat Seed, or is it Bat Side? I think Bat Side with the $9.99. This weekend is going to be a busy one for you. I will definitely look forward to the big WrestleMania review solo. Well, I will see you here. I will see you here, Bat, both nights. And Fire Panda, thank you for the super chat as well. So, on that note, I thank you very much for spending your Wednesday night with me. I hope you enjoyed this review as much as I did doing it for you. Andre Israel. Look at Andre, by the way. Andre has the yellow skull. He's got the gold skull. Because he's been a channel member for quite a while now. So he's got the gold skull. Andre with the $5 says, do you think Sting will revert back to the surfer face paint and gear for his very last match? Would be cool to see again. I don't think he will. I don't. I think we have seen the last of that. It would be weird because, you know, you have Surfer Sting with the flat top, and you know he doesn't look like Surfer Sting anymore, so I don't really see the point in dressing up like him. So I don't think he will. You know what might be cool though, if he did face paint that was kind of a mix of different eras, so a little bit of color in there, maybe representing Surfer Sting, the traditional white for Crow Sting, a little bit of red for Wolfpack Sting, Maybe he can do something where there's a little bit of different color in the face paint. I mean, that would be cool. But as far as him coming out and being dressed up, I mean, no, I think it'll be traditional Sting. Rizzo with the $5. Rhonda's comments just proved that Vince is back. Octogenarian doesn't describe anybody else other than Vince. Well, I mean, he's not an octogenarian, but could very well be a reference maybe to Michael Hayes. It's always possible. How old is Michael Hayes? Is he in his 60s? But yes, we already know Vince is back. So we didn't need Rhonda to confirm it, but that basically confirmed it. Because I'm pretty sure the Liv Morgan feud came. When did the Liv Morgan feud happen? I guess Vince was still in power, right? It was right around the time that he stepped down. So when Liv cashed in, it was at Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was the beginning of July, so Vince was still there. So yeah, that would be a reference to Vince. Fire Panda says, wait on what? What am I waiting on? What am I waiting? Oh, I see what I'm waiting on. Fire Panda is hoping that we could do Be the Booker. We are at 486 likes. We only need 13 more. I don't know who will be lucky number 500. Who will be lucky number 500? I don't know. But yeah, I'm pretty sure when Liv cashed in, Vince was still running creative. They had more matches. That was after Vince was gone for that period, but the cash-in happened when Vince was still there. Because SummerSlam was at the end of July, Money in the Bank was the very beginning of July. Vince didn't step down, I think, until the 22nd, maybe 22nd or 23rd of July, something like that. Fire Panda, you will wait. Solo Bane dropping a $20 super chat. Thank you, Fire Panda. Well, you did it. Look at that. You kept me around long enough. We have hit our goal. Look at that. This deserves some confetti. Let the confetti rain. Look at this. Adam Cole gets streamers and confetti at the end of Dynamite tonight. So does the Solomonster here. We have hit our likes goal here. 500 likes. And that means it is time to be the Booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the Booker.
It is time to be the Booker, where we book the territory and try not to put the whole fucking thing out of business. Try to book some good wrestling matches. You guys came in right at the buzzer, right? Right under the buzzer here. You guys are going to have to work extra hard this weekend, because I'm setting the goal at 1,000 likes this weekend, just so you know. So, you want to do Be the Booker, I'm going to make you work for it. So, let's kick things off here with the men's match. We do one men's match, one women's match, one tag team match if you're new here. We just take this thing for a spin and we see where it lands. I have no idea where it's going to land. That's the fun of it. We have no idea. See, Dennis in the chat has the right idea. Let me see those Sound of Gamer emojis that you guys have access to. Kick things off here with Booker T, the former 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion, King Booker, on Be the Booker. I like it. Booker T. Gonna go one-on-one with Hiroshi Tanahashi. Oh, how about that? I mentioned Tanahashi. It's almost like you say Beetlejuice 3 times and he appears. Tanahashi going to be wrestling Daniel Garcia Friday night. I mentioned him just a few minutes ago, and there he is, making his Be the Booker debut. First time we've landed on Tanahashi here on Be the Booker. What do you think about that match? Tanahashi and Booker T. What do you think about that? I like it. I like it. Let's go over to the women. Women's Be the Booker. Booker T against Hiroshi Tanahashi. We begin with The ninth wonder of the world, China. This was back in her early days as China. Got the WWF title on one shoulder, the European title on the other. Looking very different than she would look later on in her career. China still not inducted as a solo into the WWE Hall of Fame, although I guess she's in there as part of DX, but that don't really count. China one-on-one with Nikki Cross. China and Nikki Cross is it's an attraction. It would be an attraction on the card. I think we would sell some tickets with that match. So I give it the bell. I'm feeling generous tonight. Because you guys came through in the clutch for Be the Booker. Now we pick a tag team match. We begin with Braun Strowman and Nicholas from WrestleMania 34, the Raw Tag Team Champions, Braun Strowman and his 9-year-old tag team partner. Look at this. Nicholas was a WWE Tag Team Champion before Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They have never held the tag team titles together in WWE. I don't think they've held the tag team titles, period, now that I think about it. Braun Strowman and Nicholas are going to be taking on The Acclaimed. I should have probably just hit the buzzer as soon as I landed on Nicholas. But I wanted to give it a chance and see who the opponents would be. Two out of three. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. As I was reminded the other day, it was not a country song that I was thinking of. That was a Meatloaf song. Because 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's a Meatloaf song. I don't even like Meatloaf. I mean, I like Meatloaf the singer, but I don't really like Meatloaf as a meal. The Acclaimed, not even the Acclaimed can carry that match. I agree. People, by the way, for those who want to know what happened to Nicholas, if anybody is curious from what I understand, my understanding of it, when Dominic went to prison, he was behind bars doing hard time. He ran into Nicholas, so Nicholas is he's in the joint. I don't know what he's in there for. I don't know if he shanked somebody or what he did, but apparently he was running the prison yard. And even Dominic, he kind of kept his distance and stayed away from him and didn't want to have anything to do with him. We almost had a Dominic Nicholas thing going on here. So I don't know what he's on the inside for, but apparently he's not somebody you want to be fucking around with. King Chris, better technical wrestler, Theory or MJF? I'd say they're about even. I mean, they're pretty similar to me as far as you're talking technical. I mean, I would probably go with MJF, but I think they're pretty similar. The Rock versus Sting. I'm guessing Liv won't win another championship anytime soon. No. Unless she wins the women's tag team titles. I don't see her being in contention for either of the women's titles anytime soon. No. Arabian Night 2000. Bigger what if in WWE, Kennedy, Test, or Sean O'Hare? I think Kennedy, especially because he was lined up for a major push 2 different times. And both times didn't work out. He was going to be Vince McMahon's bastard son, and maybe that would have led to something bigger for him. He had the Money in the Bank briefcase and was apparently going to cash in and become World Heavyweight Champion, and then he had an arm injury that he thought was, I think, a torn bicep, and it turned out to be a bone bruise. But they didn't know that until after they had already taken the briefcase off of him and given it to Edge. So that's 2 missed opportunities for Kennedy that could have launched him to that next level. So I would say Mr. Kennedy is the bigger what if. EJ Slemp, a match that I want to see is Nicholas against Brody Lee Jr. -1 may be the most dangerous of the bunch. Don't get me started on him. Yeah, Joseph confirmed in the chat. I had heard that story too. I wanted to triple source it before I said anything, but Nicholas said that, or Joseph said that Nicholas shanked a guard. I had heard a similar story that the guard kind of looked at him the wrong way, and Nicholas shanked him in the prison yard. So, again, not somebody that you want to be on his bad side or looking at him the wrong way. But when he gets out, you better watch out. He's going to be bad news. All right, I'm going to see you guys on Friday night. Thank you for all the love. Thank you for all the super chats, all of our new channel members. Hopefully you will consider joining and getting early access to Sound of Gamer when it goes up tomorrow. Keep your eyes out. I'll tweet about it when the link goes live. I'll see you guys on Friday night for the SmackDown stream. Big weekend coming up. I'll see you there.